This is Pamela Worth, and today I am here with Kathy Williams. Kathy is also known as the Sugar Free Girl, Sugar Shrink, CEO of Williams Consulting Group. She's a speaker, author, health strategist, diabetes prevention advocate. She helps busy professionals eliminate sugar addiction and cravings in 90 days without giving up taste or roller coaster diets. Thank you so much, Kathy, for being on. Sugar is a huge part of people's lives, and I don't know if people really understand the danger that it really generates in all elements of health and wellness. It's not just in physical health, like weight gain that I think some people think of, but it literally affects your mood and sleep and all these other things. So thank you for being here.
No problem. It's an honor for me to be here with you. Thank you, Pam, for having me.
So how did you get into this journey? Tell us a little bit about your background and why you're doing what you're doing and what you're doing, types of people you love to work with.
Yes, yes. Well, I love to work with families, actually. And the reason is that, we just celebrated Mother's Day. And the fact is that women rule the world. We make the decisions as far as the nourishment of our family. We make the decisions as far as the spiritual nature of our family. We make all of the decisions for the health and well-being for our families. And my path was like a little bit circuitous in the fact that I started with my own diagnosis. So I have been 20 plus years in the healthcare industry. I'm not a doctor, not a nurse. I don't play one on television, but I've been 20 years working with pharmaceutical companies, medical device companies, the vaccine companies, clinical diagnostic companies. So the doctors that the devices that actually test your blood to make sure that we understand what's going on with your systems, manufacturers. So I have been throughout the healthcare world in a marketing and strategy perspective. I've had a lot of different roles, and I've seen, Pam, the connection between chronic disease and metabolic health. So your cholesterol, blood pressure, and diabetes or high blood sugar. And many of the chronic diseases lead back to diabetes. And they just kind of are birds of a feather and they kind of flock together. And so I've seen all the data, connected all the dots. And then I had my own diagnosis about 10 years ago, 10 and a half years ago. And I don't know whether or not a lot of people are like me, but you have the symptoms and you try to explain them away. I was urinating all the time, but I drink water all the time. I was let's see. I don't think I had any problems with my eyes or anything. I had problems with my fingertips. So if I held a cell phone for a while, my fingertips would start to get tingly. I was going to the bathroom all the time, but I thought that it was just the fact that I was holding the phone all the time too much. And so I was able to explain away all of these symptoms. But the one thing that I was not able to explain away was excessive thirst. It would wake me up at night like cotton mouth. So I would have bottles of water by my bedside. And that was one of the things that I could not explain. So that drove me to the doctor, and my hemoglobin A1C, which is a 3-month look back at your blood sugar level over the last 3 months, it had started to creep up into that danger zone, that pre-diabetes area. And I knew enough to know that I didn't want diabetes. And so I had no idea that I was declaring that I was not going to have diabetes there, but I set the intention and I declared, I was like, I'm not having this disease. So I set out to kind of figure out what it is that I need to do in order to reverse this course of action. And so I developed a methodology and was successful in reversing my prediabetes. So fast forward a year, I think it took me about a year and a half because I was like fumbling in the dark. Many people don't realize that when you get a diagnosis like this, you just get a pamphlet and go to the nutritionist. And when I got to the nutritionist, I actually fought with her. I was like, I thought all you had to do was if you're going to have sugar or have a carb, just have a protein with it so it doesn't spike. It's a gentle roll as far as your blood sugar level. She was like, no, you have to stop eating sugar. And so it's back and forth for a good 5 minutes. And then I had to realize that I had to give up sugar because my metabolism was different than when I was in my 30s. My activity level was different. I'm an African American woman. That predisposes me at a certain age to high blood pressure, high sugar levels, diabetes. It's a genetic component, heart disease, blood pressure, and diabetes all run in my family. So just showing up at a certain age, your body starts to change. And so I made the changes in my lifestyle and created this process. And little did I know, and the reason why I now like to work with not only women, because we kind of have that influence over our household, but unfortunately, a year or 4 years ago, my son was diagnosed as having type 1 diabetes. And so my results were phenomenal. I had a 10% reduction in my weight, 11% reduction in my hemoglobin A1C, flat stomach, first time after having 3 kids in my adult life. And I dropped 4 dress sizes. And I've been able to sustain it all over the last 4 years or 10 years, 10 and a half years. But what I didn't realize was the fact that all of that was going to help me to help my son in the fact that he was diagnosed with having type 1 diabetes. And because he saw the way I ate, he saw the things that I ate were kind of normal. They taste good. I had great alternatives. I'm known as the sugar-free girl because I am the queen of sugar hacks and carb hacks. You give me a situation and I've got a hack for it. And so things like cocoa-covered almonds, I would have, in the pantry, and I would put these in my kids' lunch. And, at that time, it was just a treat for them, but it only has 3 grams of sugar in it for 24. So a good handful only has 3 grams of sugar. So he started to make the shifts in his, the way he eats and his lifestyle, and he had a 50% reduction in his hemoglobin A1C. And 4 years later, he's still making insulin. So that's what I'm here to really share with you is number one, it's possible to reverse this and you become an advocate with your healthcare physician. But number two, it's not just because you have this diagnosis doesn't mean that you have to walk through the steps and the procedures and the medicine and everything else. Now, I'm not saying that he's off medication because he does need and require insulin to be able to eat, and or else his blood sugar will be high. But I'm telling you that the amount of insulin that he is taking is the same amount that was taken 4 years ago. And he still is making islet cells and beta cells, and he is still making insulin. So his body, had I been the mom that says, and I've heard this from other type 1 diabetic parents, oh, I just let them eat whatever they want to eat. They just cover the carbs. We made the conscious shift to make sure that he changed the way he ate. And as a result of it, his body is still functioning, not at peak performance, because he still has to take that external. But I am almost 99% sure that I'm going to be able to reverse him as well, because he's still 17-year-old boy. And so he doesn't eat the exact way I eat. However, his palate is changed. His maturity is increasing, and he's going to, I believe, be able to reverse his type as well.
And he probably feels a lot better than he did.
He does. He does. He's able to
He's old enough to
focus.
understand the feeling between feeling good and feeling bad.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. You touch on something which I think is really important. When we went through this with our son, granted he had an autoimmune disorder, it took the entire house going gluten-free and sugar-free. Otherwise, it's just too hard. Um, I don't know if you found that too, that at least in your journey, it was much easier if or if we're only buying groceries that fit a certain thing. And when you go out, fine, you can go ahead and cheat or whatever, but just not even bringing it into the house.
Well, that is, I think that's an approach. I had the opposite, because when I started on this journey, it was only me. And so when, in my household, at the end of the school year, we go and get ice cream. And I was still going to get ice cream with the kids. However, I was having an ice cream cone, and everybody else was having ice cream on their cone. So I recommend, especially starting out, if you're going to have something with sugar in it, have something that's 5 grams of sugar or less. And so I have basically found, and I've got lists of 5 grams of sugar or less snacks and drinks and alcoholic beverages for adults, and snacks and drinks for kids as well. And so because I had to live it, when everybody was snacking on ice cream at the end of a meal, I was having a kind bar. And then I graduated from having this granola bar, basically. It's got 3 grams of sugar, to now I have berries at the end of a meal. 10 years ago, they didn't have a lot of candies with stevia or with monk fruit in them. But Russell Stover's has a whole line of, this one is a peanut butter chew, but they've got like M&M type of candies. They've got like the little turtles. They've got caramels, which was my favorite, still is. And so having these alternatives help you to be in the midst of a family that is eating all the things, and you're still able to participate. And then, like I said, I teach a gradual method of, using things like a kind bar to help your sweet tooth. So I would keep these in my purse. I would keep them in the car. And, if I went on a business trip and had a luncheon or whatever, I had that when they were having tiramisu. Now I know it's not the same. It's not the same as tiramisu, but it helps me to be able to participate, to have something that I wouldn't normally have, and be able to keep my lifestyle, because I don't want diabetes. I'm not going to get diabetes. And so I have these little, I call them sugar hacks, if you will, that allowed me to take this journey, even though my family was not. And the great thing is we are the influence in our house. And so when I put out cucumbers and green peppers with pesto on a Saturday, with maybe grapes for the kids and strawberries and blackberries and blueberries, when everybody is grazing, they're grazing on those types of things, and they're not thinking about the Doritos or the chips. So having these alternatives helped me to, just gradually give them an opportunity to choose or not to choose. But they saw the effects that it's had on me. They saw how it's having an effect on my youngest. And my oldest is now kind of asking questions. Should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? So the influence, I think, matters, number one. And number two, if you have alternatives, you can kind of transition and then, no one, I mean, I don't remember the last time I bought Doritos, and we used to buy them every week. And so it's just become a gentle sway into this new lifestyle, as opposed to I'm doing this, so everybody has to do it.
Yeah, well, that's very kind of you. So, talk to us a little bit about your experience. So, first of all, let's just talk about the glycemic index for a second. So,
Yeah.
what is it? How do you measure it? What's high? What's low? Let's talk about that, because I think a lot of people hear about it and it's like, oh gosh, that sounds bad. But I mean, there's varying degrees of all of this, and maybe some greater understanding.
Yes, yes. So the one thing I want you guys to walk away with is there is a way for you guys to determine what to eat, and that is using the glycemic index. The glycemic index is just merely a scale between 0, which is water. I don't think I have a bottle of water. I do. I always have a bottle of water. So there's no sugar in water. And then regular sugar is 100. So it's a scale between 0 and 100 that will tell you how your body will break down the carbs that are in the foods and things that you drink. And so it will kind of give you an indication on whether or not your blood sugar is going to spike, or whether or not it's going to, what effect the foods and drinks that you would consume have on your body. And then I want to make sure that you also understand and kind of use sugar and carbs kind of interchangeably, because carbohydrates break down in your body to simple sugars. And so that's why you use the glycemic index to kind of understand how your blood sugar level is going, or how your body is going to react to the carbs that you eat. And it kind of correlates to the blood sugar level. So anywhere from 0 to 55 is in the low range. So your berries, your grapes. Grapes are on the high end of the low range, but they're not going to spike your level as much as maybe watermelon, which is an 85. So remember, I said sugar was 100. Watermelon is 85. So just that one simple swap of melons to berries, which are around 15, maybe 30, there are varying degrees, no matter, depending on the source, but just as long as you're consuming something or changing from something that is higher glycemic index to lower glycemic index, you will see a difference in your body and your body's ability to break down the things you're eating and drinking without the spike in your blood sugar. So I mentioned sweeteners, the monk fruit, the stevia, that chocolates 10 years ago didn't have those. They had artificial sweeteners. And I will be the first to tell you that that's what I used because there were no other alternatives. I have been eating and drinking for 40 plus years, Pepsis and Oreo cookies and you name it. And so I used artificial sweeteners as that bridge, as I was kind of gradually moving down. I knew they caused cancer, but I'd been eating and drinking them for years and years and years. So I used them for about 1.5, 2 months. And then I moved to more of the natural sweeteners I don't like honey, so I didn't use honey, but agave is a lower glycemic index food than honey. Artificial sweeteners are again up there in the 85 range, where stevia and monk fruit are two natural sweeteners that are like 0, maybe 15, depending on the, like I said, the scale. Melons are in that medium range. Pineapple are really high. Banana, like I said, even though banana is in the high end of the low scale, so it's under 55, I've chosen to switch out to kiwi because it's lower in the low glycemic index scale. Anywhere from 55 to 69 is medium. And then anything 70 or higher, you might as well just be eating sugar. Those are the high glycemic index foods. And so I recommend, if you just use the glycemic index to help you to make those choices, and you can use Google. You can ask Alexa, what is the glycemic index for a potato? Usually she answers. And then you can start playing around with it. So what's the glycemic index of cauliflower? Alexa, stop. So my book has an index, and it has the glycemic index in here, but there are many, many sources online where you can actually determine what the glycemic index is for white rice versus brown rice versus quinoa. And so those simple switches will be one of the things that will help your listeners to know what to eat and really, really impact your blood sugar levels.
Yeah, and all the information about erythritol. I mean that really upsets my stomach. And it's super sweet, so it kind of makes you wonder what's really going on there, and maybe there will be some additional information coming out over time. But I really do like what you're saying about monk fruit and stevia.
Yes.
Dates, I'm assuming those are pretty high, and
dates are not. They're low in the glycemic index. Alexa, what is the glycemic index of a date? The glycemic index, the glycemic index, GI, a date equals to 70.0, and it classifies it as a high GI food. Right. It is high.
Yeah, I thought it tasted too sweet to be good.
Yeah, you're right. Dates are. But you can use things. Alexa, what's the glycemic index of agave nectar? And agave nectar is low on the glycemic index, coming in at 17. 17. So agave nectar is 17. And so if you want to use agave, it's a natural sweetener. And it's not going to spike your blood sugar as much as dates, as much as artificial sweeteners. Like I was definitely a Pepsi fiend and a Starbucks queen. And I went from regular Pepsi to diet Pepsi for a short period of time. And then I transitioned to unsweet iced tea using stevia, and then monk fruit became more pervasive. And those little packets that you get, I carry them around with me in my purse, in the car, everywhere I go. And so I just order an unsweet iced tea if I'm not drinking water. And also, I used the seltzer waters. So LaCroix has a great flavor, and you're not going to get the caffeine. You're not going to get all of the sugar in there. The only thing I would caution you is that, and I've kind of transitioned off of that as well, is the carbonation kind of leaches the calcium out of your bones. So that's just something that you just need to factor in. But again, I used it because I was drinking sodas and I wanted an alternative to that fizz and everything. And now I just basically have a cappuccino that I make at home, 0 carbs, 0 sugar. I use unsweet almond milk. in my, well, I just gave up coffee
Oh my.
3 weeks ago. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
look good. I don't know that I would look that good.
Surprisingly enough, I did not have the caffeine withdrawal because I was trying to kind of slow it down. But I was up to 2 cups a day.
Yeah, that's what I do. I do about a cup and a half to 2 cups.
Yeah.
Oh goodness. So kind of
But
some,
there is a way to do it. There's these gentle little swaps.
well, kind of thinking about, just kind of closing out here. If people want to learn more information, I think sometimes it's hard to find trusted sources. Do you have any
Mhm.
suggestions for people, types of practitioners, types of websites, types of questions to ask? Any last thoughts that you really want to make sure that people are take away?
Well, I think that there are a couple of things. If you have a diagnosis, if you either have diabetes or if you have been diagnosed as having prediabetes, making sure that you talk with your doctor about a nutritionist. Go to the nutritionist. They will outline a plan for you, and that will be the what to do. The how to do it comes in with health coaches like myself who have gone through, got the t-shirt, have all of the pathways to you getting there, have the tricks of the trade for how you can maneuver. And I've even got different ice creams, keto ice creams that I found it and taste tested it so that you don't have to kind of fumble and that sort of thing. Health coaches are great. Even some of the Facebook groups that you can find are a wealth of information. But the one thing that is necessary is accountability. You want to make sure that you are working with someone that no one has gotten to where you want to be. Number one. Number two is going to hold you accountable to the goals that you want. Number three is going to really, really help you to understand the challenges that are going to happen and guide you through those challenges. Because I'm here to tell you that my hemoglobin A1C went down a bit and then it plateaued for a good while. And everybody around me was like, well, you might as well just go back to eating sugar. No, had I gone back to eating sugar, I probably would have had diabetes. It plateaued and then it ended up going down. So someone knowing exactly the path that you're on is definitely something that you should.
And that is a really interesting point. That happened to my husband too. It
Yeah.
started to go down, and then all of a sudden it started to go up again for like 3 to 6 months. And he was so upset and so just deflated. And then all of a sudden it went back down again and stayed down. So
Yeah.
just
It's
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 odd.
happened to me as well. I mean, mine plateaued and it stayed down for several years and now it's going back up. And but the thing that I will share with you, Pam, one of the steps in my process is to ensure that you are monitoring your blood sugar. So I use a CGM so that I know what my blood sugar is. And when you go to your doctor, they do the blood test. But what I had done is I had backed off on my weight training.
Mm.
So I was walking, I was doing the cardio, but I wasn't doing as much weight training. So really understanding all of the levers: stress, sleep, physical fitness, what you're eating, your lifestyle, all of the things. There are so many things factors that come into play. Knowing and working with someone who understands the complexity so that you can help yourself and be that advocate and help you and your physician to kind of create the right path.
Yeah, good. Well, thank you so much. How do
Yeah.
people find out more about you, Kathy?
Well, you can email me at Kathy at sugarfree.com. That's my website. ilivsugarfree.com. On all the socials, I am Sugar Free Nation. But I will give you a free, I think I've got a 5 video of what to eat. So, what to eat when you crave something crunchy, sweet, savory, and salty. And the 5th video is how to increase the fiber. And in there, you'll be able to access some of the videos that I've done and some of the suggestions. Like I said, I've got all the ideas for you for no matter what you crave.
Super. Thank you so much, Kathy.
You're welcome.